All right, what's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of the Overcut podcast, where we'll be reviewing the most recent race, which was the Saudi Grand Prix, which happened on Sunday. Um, I guess it was kind of straightforward, but not really straightforward. I mean, things
Mhm.
kind of happened that we thought would happen, but I guess in the opposite way. So yeah, so you got the same usual suspects here. You got me, you got LG, you got Joe,
What's going on?
and you got Mike.
What's happening?
So we're going to talk about everything that happened on the race this weekend. So first, we'll go through. I guess do we start with qualifying? We got to this week, right?
Yeah, with the max weirdness, we should.
There's a storyline.
hmm
Yeah. So the perennial favorite to win the race, Max Verstappen, of course, had issues in Q2, which nobody saw coming because Red Bull didn't have really any reliability issues leading up into this weekend, all through testing, through round one, or anything like that. So that came out of nowhere. So he had issues in Q2 before he completed any hot laps. So he had to start in P15 for the race on Sunday. And that put him back there with Charles, who already had the 10 place grid penalty from switching everything.
The power unit, yeah.
In race number 2, already used too many power units. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows what the rest of the season looks like there.
hmm
So yeah, put him back there Charles started at P12, so outside of the points as well. So what did y'all think when y'all saw Max limping around there during qualifying?
I thought it didn't matter.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I was excited because it gave some people some openings, but I still figured he would be contending in the race no matter what, and early on in the race.
Yeah. So did you think that so you all thought he would still win from 15th?
Honestly, I almost would have said I would have bet the house on it.
I thought about it. I looked, it was like he was plus money to win the race, and I was like, man. This is the one. I think I texted y'all or I texted somebody. I was like, if you ever want to bet on Max and actually have value for Max to win a race, it's this time.
I definitely saw him on the podium for sure. But I think the only reason I wouldn't have bet is just because I knew that both Red Bulls looked good. So he would have had to still chase down Perez. So
yeah. So I guess we'll go through the finishers. So in P1 we did have Sergio Perez, who ended up taking it home for Red Bull after a pretty dominant performance, you could say, by him. Kind of, he was,
Dude.
Despite other than the start where he kind of, well, I don't know, what do you want to call it?
He went
classic
to sleep.
Checo.
Yeah, he went to sleep. But we're gonna be he's the hero for everybody. He's our only hope to have a great championship race this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, maybe you say even this was the best race of his career with Red Bull. I mean, he had a couple good races last year too, but I mean, the fact that Max could do nothing to him, again, Max started in 15th, I know this, but still, once he got up there, he didn't gain on Checo really at all. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so second place, you have who the fans voted driver of the day, Max Verstappen, who started P15, and by, what is it?
Lap 25.
Was it like lap? What was it? Had the safety car on lap 17 that we'll talk about. The safety car we'll talk about later. After that, he was in. After the safety car restart? Who was in? Did he start in fourth?
He was in fourth.
Fourth,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So at that point, when he was in fourth, I was thinking to myself, I said, yeah, this race is over.
Yeah, they were talking about that. So he was over a pit stop behind Perez at the time of the safety car, which means, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the pit stop here is like 22 seconds or so. So he was 23 seconds behind Perez. But with the safety car, it bunches everybody up because they want to keep him close so they can fix the track or whatever, which we can talk about how that even happened. But then he can see Perez. He was, officially what, like 5 seconds behind technically at that time.
Yeah,
with a good amount of laps left.
Yeah. So at that moment, like you said, LG, I just figured, well, he's going to get up there and either the team's going to let him through or he's just going to pass Sergio real fast.
Yeah, with them bunched up, he was going to have DRS, and that car with DRS is something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we definitely all saw it coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just a thing where he just couldn't catch him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was Checo's like notoriously good on like saving tires and like making them go long. So I don't think that probably wasn't the issue for him. So it's probably part of the reason he couldn't catch him, because I don't think Max is good on the tires, but I don't think he's as good as Sergio. So I think after probably some time went by, he probably realized he wasn't going to catch him.
Yeah, and the restart itself, being a rolling restart, the guy in first does have an advantage because we saw it, whether the Red Bull's faster than the Aston or not. Sergio was like 2 seconds ahead after one lap after the restart. So he's already out of DRS range from Aston. So the fact that he got that far ahead, I mean, Max had to pass these guys to then try to catch him. So it was all Sergio on the restart. And you're right. Then he can manage tires better than Max and stay ahead that way.
Yeah. Because they said the Red Bull was like 17 miles per hour faster with the DRS than the rest of the field.
Yeah.
So
it's insane.
So if both cars were next to each other and they open up the DRS, the Red Bull is still 17 miles an hour faster than the other car.
That's the way that I took
what
Crofty was saying.
I heard that like they're definitely better than other cars, but that's so fast.
I mean, that was the thing last year. Like you could like it was I guess the field it felt like a little bit closer, but it's only been 2 races. Like you could keep up with them, but they're so fast in the straights, like you can't pass them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your only bet is to that's why qualifying was so important last year, trying to get the pole.
Yeah, you got to get in front of them, and then you got to stay out of DRS range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I knew. I mean, it was awesome that Fernando took the lead, in turn 1 and 2. And can I just say, the camera angles they use through turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the way they're weaving, really cool. I do love street tracks for that, but we knew that Fernando was going to got fast because of the DRS. As soon as they were allowed to use it, he was done no matter what.
Yeah. And then they were back to back because they're like the DRS zones were back to back. So it's like it's right there on that back straightaway, and then you got that hairpin right there in the last corner, and then you got DRS again. So
and you're just taking that momentum. They're taking that momentum right into the turn, and if they were closing on you, when they come around that last turn, they're going to pass you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
There's a conscious effort of everyone. I feel like when Red Bull's behind them, they are not even trying to defend because whether it's going to hurt their tires or slow them down, compare like racing another car later or something. Everyone just even if they could potentially to position their car to try to defend, which would still lose anyways, they're not even trying to do it. Everything I saw yesterday.
Everybody says that's not my race.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys are not my race. So no reason to, kill my tires or kill my race by racing two cars that you're not going to see. You're not going to be anywhere close to them at the end of the race.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're racing each other.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, then you go down to Max finished 5 seconds behind Perez. So then when you go to third to Alonso is 20 seconds off the lead, and that's after having a safety car period. So if you didn't have that, there's no telling what the gap to the field would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But Alonso. So Alonso rounds out the podium for the Saudi race, and
I didn't find that out till this morning.
Yeah. It's Tuesday now. Are we sure that Alonso's still on the podium?
I don't know. There might be a new appeal. There might be a new appeal by the Jackman who apparently touched the car too early in the pit stop.
Yeah, so Alonso had an eventful race that and nothing and not much of it revolved around anything that happened during the actual race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he got what was it? He got the 5-second penalty for grid positioning where he was completely wrong. And then when he went to serve that penalty, the jack man had put the rear jack under the car and touched the car. So before the 5 seconds was up, so he got a 10-second time penalty for that.
Yeah.
Which happened. The 10-second time penalty didn't come until after the race.
After the race.
Yeah, they announced it that it was a penalty after the race had finished.
Well, it seems like George must have heard some rumblings of it, because on those last few laps, he was definitely saying, doesn't he have a penalty? And they're like, we're not sure, to try to cut it within 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really on it that last 2 laps to try to get within 5 seconds, hoping that they were going to go ahead and give him the penalty.
Yeah, it had been announced that that they had noted that it might be a penalty.
Yeah.
So then, of course, all the teams can look at the footage and think to themselves if it's going to be a penalty or not. So that must have been what they were using.
Yeah, and all the teams can hear each other's radio too. So if they heard it, then they probably relayed that message to George, and George got on it because he wouldn't have any other way of knowing that in the car.
Right.
Yeah, one of the engineers or somebody said something.
But yeah, so that penalty came, Alonso's 10-second penalty came after the race, which gave George the podium.
Yeah.
George, they took pictures and everything, George with the trophy, celebrating the podium. And then what happens after that?
They took it right back.
Yeah, a couple hours later, says reinstated. I thought I was getting fooled by the internet because, I follow these meme accounts, these F1 meme accounts. And I was like, wait, this can't be real, right?
But they said that was his 100th podium of his career. So that's a big deal. So he was in limbo the whole time about a big milestone.
I mean, classic F1. Make it weird when it's like a big milestone.
Taking away your 100th podium after the race is crazy. But yeah, so I mean, so what happens in that situation? George has the trophy, so does he have to go now? Somebody has to come down there, take the trophy from George, say, so hey man, so sorry about this, but we're gonna need that back, and then you go take it back down to Fernando.
Does he celebrate again when he gets back?
I'm sure. I'm sure. I am sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, Russell missed out on that. I'm sure he knows that Alonso deserved the podium.
Right.
But you'll take the hardware if they're gonna give it to you though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just a mess altogether. I just hate how the stewards just can't make a decision, it seems like, when they need to, because why there was more than half of the race had gone by at that point. Mm-hmm. And exactly. You didn't make the decision until after the race, and then when you make the decision, you go back on it.
Yeah, the more and more I see this happening. This is my 3rd, 4th year watching F1. It seems like they have no handle on this at all.
No, I know.
On any calls,
have a big enough staff to be able to make these decisions fast enough for us.
Yeah, they have to figure out something. I feel like they have to put these things in concrete, make it official, and stop with the well, we'll look at it, we'll review it. No, just tell me if we got the penalty or not. There's no reason to keep reviewing it.
Mm-hmm.
You got about a minute. You can go a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, and give them a chance. But you can't go 45 minutes an hour and then try to give somebody a penalty. I think it was 30 minutes after the race is when they tried to give them the penalty.
Yeah, that's when it gets shady, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Another thing that'll fuel your conspiracy brains, the FIA for the stewards for the race weekends, it's just like members of I know it used I'm not sure if they still do that in 2023, but it just used to be like members of like the FIA's like a motoring club or something. So you just pay like dues, and then like you could be a race steward.
Yeah, we need more information. We need to find out what their allegiance
but
is.
that's how it used to be. Like, so
we
they
can be on
don't.
the team.
So like the steward, like I think part of the reason is like the stewards change every race. So there's not there's no set like stewards for like that they have set. So like every race weekend, it's usually different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that's where the issue starts. Because that creates you have no consistency, because somebody may see something as being like, oh, that's a big time infraction, and somebody else might look at it like,
not that big of a deal.
That's racing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was thinking of it like there's no biases if they're changing every race, but your point about no consistency is probably more important. So that's a good call.
So as a driver, it's probably like, all right, so what can I do and what can I do? What can I not do?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that, because I felt like those two front cars were doing some illegal things during this race.
Oh, I do want to talk about that. Yeah.
And the stewards didn't say one thing about it.
They were cool with it. Like, yeah, just make your own track. That's fine. Your drive shaft ain't working properly. Yeah, it's okay. Cut the corner.
Yeah, it's Mario Kart. They just do whatever they want to do out there.
They were driver errors, guys.
Right. That's what is that Christian Horner over there? Or is that
my God. Jesus
so
Christ.
Going further down the grid order. So you got, and then after Alonso the podium, so now you get to the Mercedes cars. You have George Russell in fourth, and you got Hamilton in fifth. I mean,
that's a decent finish for them.
Yeah, I think they had. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to finish ahead of the Aston, but
they had pace though. I mean,
happened.
They did at parts of the race. They had good pace, but that Aston Martin, I don't know if it's just the Aston Martin in general or if it's just Fernando Alonso driving that car, but that's a tough out. He's gonna be a tough out every week. He's gonna be a tough out every week.
Well, he's definitely better than Stroll. We've seen that. I know Stroll had the problem with. I don't know if it was officially announced, but was it a brake issue or whatever? Why he stopped? But
no, he said he thought it was a motor issue. The brakes were just warm from him stopping the car, but he said there was smoke coming from the engine compartment.
Okay,
they said after a race, I think power unit issue.
Yikes.
Okay. Interesting to see if that's something that happens all year or just a one-time thing, because I do think Stroll is good enough, especially in that car, to get on the podium sometimes and such. But you can tell Fernando is driving that car better than Stroll can.
Well, they're saying that car is not turned all the way up. They said the power unit's pretty low for what its full capability is, because they wanted to keep it reliable. But that could be just lies, just to tell everybody they have something and they don't.
You never know what to believe with these. You never know what to believe with these guys, man. They just make up stuff all the time and lie.
Yeah.
But as far as Mercedes is concerned, you guys were right about them being part of this midfield. I just kind of figured the Ferraris would look definitely better than they did this weekend. But I mean, Charles looked good coming from 12th, but yeah, you're exactly right. Your background is exactly right. But Mercedes impressed me. I knew they weren't going to win the race, but they at least still impressed me with what happened this weekend.
I think once they bring those upgrades, we'll see them competing more with Aston Martin. I don't think anybody competes with Red Bull, but
right.
I think they can definitely be, more competitive with at least Fernando.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Mercedes made a mistake during their race, though. I think that
starting first on the hards.
Well, I mean, I'm all for team splitting strategies between drivers. I don't think especially like back then, like back there in the midfield, you
got to try something.
Yeah, I think I don't have an issue with that. But I have what I have issue with is I think Mercedes fell into that thing they do sometimes where they let their drivers race each other too much. And what it ended up doing is it ended up letting Alonso get away from George, when they could have. What I thought they should have done is they should have let Lewis go by George sooner, so Lewis could attack Fernando when
Okay.
Fernando had the hard tire. Make him use those tires, and even if you don't pass him, like you still got George there who can come up behind him with those tires, and Fernando's you try to use those tires up defending
Yeah, I
Lewis.
think George ended on the mediums, right?
No,
No, he started the race
Lewis.
on the mediums.
I think
Lewis ended on the mediums.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they just did the one stop. So you're thinking, Lonnie, if when Lewis got up to the back of Russell, they let Lewis through, and with the plan of hopefully he can get past Alonso, but if he can't, then later in the race we're probably going to let George go through Lewis.
Yeah, you just switch them. You just switch them back.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
If you can't get past them, you just do the switchback later in the race. I mean, people do it all the time. I don't see why in that moment they didn't try to do that. But,
well, that and you give both cars a chance, because if you let Lewis get a chance and he's not able to, he's probably made Alonso spin those tires.
Mm-hmm.
So then that gives George a chance at the end to still hopefully have preserved his enough to come back and have a chance at it.
Right.
Yeah, you can at least try to get a podium out of it some kind of way. But,
yeah.
And are we hearing that team radio with George and the team when Lewis was behind him as George like officially disobeying team orders? Like, how do we listen to that and not think that? Because that's kind of what I heard, that he was much more focused on, well, I can still catch Alonso, and then they didn't say, or he didn't say I'd let him through or anything like that.
I don't know. And I'd be interested to see what they said, like what the conversation was before all that happened, because I'm pretty sure that they told him that they were pretty sure they probably told him what Lewis reported back about the hards, and then reiterating that they needed the last. So I mean, he was probably I don't know what kind of conservation mode he was in with the tires, but that could have played a factor into it too. And then when he saw he wasn't, like, Lewis was right there, he was like, all right, I can push. Like,
that's
I'm
exactly what he
pushing.
said.
Okay. Yeah.
When they let him know that they were talking about letting Lewis by, he's like, well, I have more pace. The tires are good. And then he took off. He said the fastest, his personal best that lap, when they asked him to switch, he was like, nah, and set a personal best on that next lap. So he was really pushing to make sure. And then once he did that, Lewis I think he was back about 2 seconds. So they were like, there's no reason to even talk about switching anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but then again, that puts it back into, why are you letting your cars race each other?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like,
it's a team sport.
Yeah.
No matter what Red Bull says.
Yeah.
It's a team sport.
It's not as obvious at Mercedes that Lewis is the number one compared to some other teams. So I'm weirded out by how George is handling this, but I'm not surprised because of how much of kind of an asshole he was at Williams, not towards any other driver except for what happened with Bottas a couple years ago.
He slapped him on the head.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about
real
George.
beef there. It was real beef there.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, going down the rest of the order. So then you have the Ferraris finishing 6th and 7th, 35 seconds off the lead for Carlos. And
I'm not gonna go and just bash them though. They got really unlucky with the safety car.
They did.
They got really unlucky. It just seems like the ball never bounces your way when it comes to that.
Yeah, they pitted
the lap before.
Stroll pitted to try to undercut them, right? And then they both pitted after Stroll, and they both came out ahead of Stroll. And then Stroll, the next lap after that, had to stop right after Ferrari had pitted.
Yeah. So shameless plug. The overcut worked.
Yeah, let's go.
I heard it on the broadcast.
The overcut worked. So
yeah, they lost, pertaining to this 35 seconds behind Perez thing. They lost 10 seconds technically, because the safety car pit stop was like 11 seconds. I saw they were saying that's how much you lose in the field.
Okay.
On average, so obviously not near the lead, but still, 10 seconds is a lot of time that they got gypped out of there by one lap.
Yeah, but it was a full safety car, so they started bunched back up. They just pulled out. It's just like, so what do you mean? And in 6th and 7th, you're probably maybe about 5 at the very start. You're maybe like 5 or so seconds off the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And It was like they said. I think they said that they were like a second a lap faster than everybody, which is a huge amount.
You talking about Red Bull?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said
Yeah,
Red
yeah.
Bull was like a second faster, second quicker a lap than everybody.
Scary. Very scary.
Now I wonder if if people think that there's some funny business going on with how dominant this team looks. I wonder if there's any team principals snooping around the garage trying to see if they see something different.
I don't think it. Not yet. I think it's too early because I mean they won last year too.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Well, I like what Mike's thinking because if it was another team, Christian Horner would be appealing everything.
100%.
Appealing the shoes they're wearing, appealing everything that they're doing.
Well, they were saying something
whichever
about the
team's in.
ride height. They were saying that their car is lower than everybody else's. And they were trying to figure out how that was working, but that was just, me reading things on Twitter.
Okay, I see.
Something to get my mind stirred up, the blood pressure up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask y'all a question about fitting into this, the fact that they're a second faster. I know there's tracks that are all different, street track, non-street, things for downforce, things for not downforce. What scenario is there where a car that's not a Red Bull wins a race this year?
2 DNFs.
Both of them gone?
No, I mean, I think some of your tracks where there's not much, where there aren't so many straights. Because I mean, you look at Bahrain and Saudi, they both have long front straight, like real long straight parts of the track. Where if you got that horsepower, you're gonna be pretty dominant compared to everybody else.
Okay.
So like I think some of your tighter tracks, like they'll dominate Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Because that's the longest straight on the calendar.
That's the Australian. No.
It's what do they call it? Baku.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they'll dominate there. That race will be crazy.
Okay, so we're looking for tracks that
like
don't have
Hungary,
very many DRS zones, or
Slow
DRS zones are
corners.
short because there's not a long straight. Okay.
yeah, tracks like Monaco, like Hungary, maybe Spain.
Okay.
But Monaco doesn't have a lot of passing. So if they're able to if they can qualify well,
Right. Yeah.
it's
They'll run
gonna
away.
be,
That's a good point.
yeah, it's going to be tough to pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think your higher downforce tracks like that will be tracks where you could potentially see somebody else win.
Well, that could definitely be a Ferrari track though.
Yeah,
Y'all
Ferrari's
have
been
y'all
good.
have the one lap. Y'all got the one lap is down. Y'all have that done pretty well. It's just the whole race y'all haven't been able to put it together.
Well, Ferrari's strength last year was like those high downforce tracks, where it weren't like huge long DRS zones. Because I mean the Ferrari was really fast in the corners, like in the slow corners last year.
Yeah.
So like your tracks with the slower corners, that car works well. But like as soon as you get to like anything high speed, it's like it's Red Bull territory. So
Okay.
we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, upgrades will help a little with
They're
some of
coming.
the teams, but I mean, Red Bull's going to bring upgrades too. So
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like nobody else is allowed to bring upgrades.
I wish they should do that. They should say the team in first place and the constructors can't bring upgrades for the first 8 weeks, and then they're allowed to. So just stuff like that.
Well, so question. So from what I understand, when I guess at a certain point of the season, they kind of reset the field and the testing is done differently, right? Something about like the wind tunnel testing. Teams that are lower in the back are able to do more testing than the teams in the front.
No, I don't know. I think that's all in the cost cap thing.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that, but
yeah, I'm not
just
sure.
a Twitter
I know, like in
conspiracy
between
theory guy.
each year, but I didn't realize it may happen like in the middle of the season somewhere. There might be a reset, but I'm not aware.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with Twitter. We'll see anything on there.
Hey, I get fooled by the internet all the time. I get it.
Yeah, I just wondering, man. Just wondering.
So then, after the Ferraris, after the Ferraris, you got Ocon and Gasly. So they finished almost 53 seconds behind Sergio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost a minute behind.
And they had two boring ass races.
And they were just stuck with each other the whole race.
Gasly was around Hamilton and Leclerc, that time when Leclerc was pushing through the field. But other than that, they just hung right where they qualified, which good for them. I have no problem with that. We got points for both drivers, but
yeah, I just thought they would be more intense. I would think that they would be racing each other more, and it just seemed like they were just content, just not letting anybody else by.
2 weeks ago, like this is the beginning of the next midfield, like with Ferrari, Aston, and Mercedes, and then Alpine begins like the next level, and they're not racing those other three teams, so they're just in this no man's land of let's get points every week.
Yeah.
They're with the they're in that battle with like the Haas and the
who else can it be? I mean, that's what it looks like here, but I know Haas wants to be up there.
They look good, man.
I mean, Magnussen we finished all the top 10. Magnussen came home with points in 10th. So
yeah, they look good.
After he got by Sonoda, what was that with like 2 or 3 laps left?
2 or 3 laps, and man, did Yuki yell out a yelp after that? He was pretty upset.
I love Yuki on the radio.
He was like,
Yuki's always yelling. He's always yelling on the radio.
It's always some form of like, no.
What? And I like how Sky just plays it. They only play like the one part. Like it could have been a whole like combo after that. They just play the one sound.
They don't put a caption up like they usually do. They usually put closed captioning on. Nope, it's just nothing. It's just a sound.
That was a bunch of asterisks like this. But yeah, no. Alpine had a good race. Haas had a good race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Tsunoda being up that high, I'm proud of that, and Zhou Guanyu too. I mean, I know he didn't finish the points, but I mean, he was fighting for a while with some of those guys as far as like between 11 through 13, 11 through 14.
Yeah, I think Tsunoda, this is 2 weeks in a row he finished 11th. So he's itching. Like he's right there at it.
Mm-hmm.
He's right there at it.
Get Yuki some points, man.
Yeah, he needs them. Or he's going to
some points, man.
Gonna lose it. He's going to lose it.
I guess I'm a little... I thought that De Vries was going to wow me a little more. I know that's unfair because he's in an AlphaTauri, but because he raced that one race last year with Williams and got the points, I figured he would just come out hot, for an AlphaTauri. I'm not talking something crazy here, but do we know, or what do you guys think about him so far this season? Maybe bad luck a couple times, or what do you think?
I thought he would be faster than Yuki.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
I don't know, man. I thought Yuki Tsunoda I think he looks better. I thought he looked better, though. I figured he would. He has more experience, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he would be better than Yuki, like pretty convincingly, but
wow,
it hasn't happened yet. Because I mean,
this
I don't
is
know.
what
I mean, it's still early. It's still early. I mean,
right?
Is this Yuki's second full season? Third?
This is third.
Third?
I think we're going on year 3 of Yuki.
Yeah, I don't think he was not a rookie last year. It was just Zhou Guanyu was the only rookie last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, we can go through the rest of the top 10. You had Tsunoda in 11th, Hulkenberg 12th, Joe 13th, De Vries 14th, Piastri finishing out the top 15. Piastri he had pretty bad luck with that wing damage at the beginning.
I was impressed by the start though. I liked it because they showed his onboard, whenever they turned it on in the middle of the race there. Yeah, he hit Ocon, or was it Ocon? He hit somebody. That's how obviously the front wing got damaged, but
I don't think it was his fault either, though.
I don't think so. Yeah, from what they said, I don't think it was. But
it didn't look like anybody. It didn't look like anybody's fault, really. It looked like they were just
a
racing. It looked more so like that part shouldn't have fell off with just that little bit of contact.
Yeah, it was a big piece too.
Yeah, it was like that much. It was like that much of the wing came off. Didn't even look like they even touched that.
Could have been a safety car.
Yeah,
that should have been at least a virtual safety car.
Yeah, no safety car.
No safety car for that.
Yeah, they showed the track from like looking back at the drivers coming towards us, and they were visibly swerving away from pieces of car on the track, and they never did anything. It wasn't a yellow flag in that sector or nothing. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Man.
So yeah,
Nobody made the call.
we're gonna talk about that safety car. We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
what constitutes a safety car in
Well, I'm
2023.
just gonna guess on that one, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's like the NFL. Is it a catch? Is it a catch?
Thank you. Yes, I don't know what a catch is. I don't know what a safety car is. So it's all the same. That's fine.
What constitutes a car stopped on track?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lance.
So then you got Logan Sargent finishing 16th. He lost those like last two positions in like
two laps.
Span of like a lap and a half.
Yeah, it was quick. Those tires fell off quickly.
Yeah.
But he was doing some real hard racing in the midfield. Like I was actually, I mean, honestly, that was one of the fights you saw. You didn't see many of those guys at the front. So you were seeing all these fights in the back, and he was battling those last, I don't know, 15, 10 laps. And it just at the end with about 5 laps to go that you could tell the tires fell off and he had to let off. He didn't have it.
Yeah. You know they were falling off when he's back there with the McLarens. The McLarens were trying to overtake him. When I saw that, I was like, man, he must have pushed too hard. He should not be back that far.
Yeah. And Lando still couldn't pass him.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Lando.
I'm not really sure what's up with he was the number 1 driver and he does not look like it for McLaren. Doesn't look like it at all.
Yeah, I want to take the first race out of here because of the weird hydraulic air thing. So hopefully we are talking differently about Lando in another 3 races, but I don't know what's going on either.
Yeah, that car just seems bad.
All around.
It seems bad right now.
And that's both cars. For both cars to look so bad, it seems like it's a car thing and not really a driver thing.
And then so after that, then you have the only car to finish a lap down is Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
Holding up the rear, baby.
Come on, man.
And then like I saw where Valtteri said after the race he didn't really know why the car was so slow.
Yeah, he said like, can you check to see what's wrong with the car? Like while he's still driving. It sucks.
He was like, he said something about damage. He had damage early on in the race. He said that was the only explanation he could think of.
On the first lap. So I think he said that he thinks something happened to the suspension on that debris, the debris from earlier on the first lap.
Oh man. Okay.
And then he said that's the situation. But
it had to have been something, man, because he was like,
so what was the pit for at the end of the race? If he wasn't trying to race to get the fastest lap, I'm not sure why even pit. Because he pit with a few, I don't know, 2-3 laps to go. Wasn't it super late like that?
Maybe he thought he could do it again.
Yeah. He's usually notorious for stealing that.
Yeah.
He's done it a lot. Not on Max's watch.
Yeah. So then you have the 2 DNFs. You got Albon and who had brake failure, which is on a street circuit sounds terrifying.
Which he did not pit.
Yeah,
he
what happened?
Limped it around the track with no brakes for a whole lap.
Yeah.
Was he thinking it would? Because they didn't give us all the messaging that he was doing, but he said brake failure, and he's limping around, and then he passes the pits like not going in.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of racing again, but then he's getting out of the way, and then he comes into the pits.
Am I remembering correctly? No, that wasn't him. Somebody had brake issues, but I think that was with actually Perez's car. They said there was some brake fluid on the pedal.
Yeah.
From them bleeding the brakes. But yes, so it wasn't him. But
yeah. Red Bull did give us 2 times today that my fingers were crossed. It's like, ooh, something bad gonna happen, because Max was complaining about the vibrations in the drive shaft, and
it seems like something's up with that, because this is 2 weeks in a row, unless he's just talking on the ways just to get people something to think about, but which is very possible. They do it a lot.
Yeah.
I know Lewis used to do it a lot. Make it seem like something was going wrong, and then win by 7 seconds.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So bringing up the rear, you have good old Lance Stroll, who had power unit issues and allegedly parked his car on the track. if you ask the FIA.
Well, did you hear their lame excuse of why they did it?
The
They said that the
GPS.
GPS told them that it was on the track and it must have been the wing of the car hanging over. And I was like, that car was neatly tucked to the side, nowhere near.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening that didn't watch the race, the way the track worked in that area was there's a pull-off zone where you're still inside the walls of the street track, and then some parts there it's open for emergency vehicles to come onto the track or for drivers to pull all the way off the track. Lance pulled all the way into that. So he wasn't like barely still on the track. He was, I guess, barely still inside the confines in the runoff area by the wing GPS wise. So it wasn't like he was just like still touching the white line. No, he was way far away.
You couldn't have parked the car better.
Yeah, exactly. Great work. Great work by Lance.
Yeah, because we've seen people not get the car off the track the proper way. Like Lance actually did it the right way.
Yeah.
And we get a safety car out of it. We get the Christian Horner safety car.
Yep. This is the one where then Max was already in fourth. And now everybody's bunched up. And this is when we thought Max was going to win the race.
So what do you think Christian's call was to the stewards down there to throw the safety car?
Hey, we need you. We need you.
Say, Michael, I know Michael's not in charge, but Michael, that's clearly a safety car. You got to get people out on the track there.
It's probably pretty unsafe for the marshals out there. He probably blamed it on that. It's like it's unsafe for the marshals to be out on the track there. Don't you think? Like, no. You're like, yeah, you're right, Christian. Throw it.
So over him, man.
Yeah.
So what did y'all think about the end of the race with Max and Perez kind of going at it and the team trying to keep them from racing?
I mean, it's just what we would expect now. They're going to sound a little shady towards Checo, and Checo knows that, so he was questioning. It's like, well, why are you having me race slower than Max? Because they were trying to give him a target number, right? Like a target for each lap.
Yeah, they told him 32. No, they told him 33.
33
and then they told Max like 32.3 or something like that. And realistically, both of them didn't think that the team was telling them the truth.
Well, that's what the fastest lap with Max.
That's did y'all see? Message. Did you see the interview afterwards? And they're like, he's like, "Did I get the fastest lap?" And Max was like, "No, I got fastest lap." He was like, "Well, did they told you the whole pace?" He was like, and then it kind of cuts off.
Yeah.
So realistically, seems like Max might have took that into his own hands and say, yeah, I'm gonna do this because I don't want Checo to have the lead at all.
I mean, on one side, if I was in second like Max was and my car is super fast, like I'm trying to get the fastest lap. I'm still trying to race against Checo, but the way the team was like, we're not worried about it right now. And maybe that they said that to like actually help Checo out. But they were also coming off kind of shady to Checo earlier in the race. I don't know who's on whose side, but I do think I would have handled it the way Max did. At least, like, well, I want to get the fastest lap, but I don't have it now, and I have the capabilities to do it. So I don't fault him for that one. My first time ever saying something nice about Max.
Right there. He was trying to steal his boy's shine. I ain't like that. This is a team sport. And he was like, nope.
Yep.
He's like, he's already beating me in the race. I'm stealing the point.
I mean, they're not going to tell the driver in the lead to go for the fastest lap on the last lap.
Well, I think Checo actually put in the fastest lap. It was a few laps before that, though. I don't think it was early on.
He was moving.
Checo had it for a while
because he
had the fastest lap for a while. So I mean,
it was like
I knew somebody would eventually get it at the end anyway because he had set that lap with like some time left.
Oh, it was? Okay. I thought it was something like 10 laps or something like that to go.
Yeah, I think he had set that thing with a little bit of time left. And I know that those teams are hungry for that 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
Max
that or
wasn't
just
gonna, Max wasn't gonna let anybody else get it, especially if he didn't win. Like if he knew he wasn't gonna win, like he definitely not gonna let anybody get the
well,
fastest
you know
lap.
who was excited about that? This guy right here was at least
Dude,
excited
look at that dude's face.
for the one. This is Max's father after the race. If anybody who
Good old
doesn't know,
Yas.
What a
Good old
D.
he's a
good old
loser.
2 career podium Yas.
Such a loser. Look
as
how
Checo,
excited Checo is, and
yeah,
everybody
he's
around
celebrating
here.
right there.
And then this is Max's dad.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah. So
did you see Max after the race saying about how
not happy?
it wasn't easy getting through the field?
I didn't, but stop it.
Yeah,
He said it wasn't easy getting through the field today. It's like, Max, come on, man. We watched the race.
But I did hear that he was saying that he did not come there to finish second.
I mean,
fair.
I mean, he didn't.
I'm hoping to see more of this battle to come. I'm ready for that double DNF that you were talking about week 1. I'm ready for that because it's going to happen at some point with these two cars being the fastest on the grid. They're just racing each other.
They'll hit each other at some point. I mean, Hamilton and Nico did it like all season.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Max do it before also. So
yeah, with Danny.
Yeah. So
it's going to have to be early in the race because the team is going to say like split the strategy at some point. If like one racer's coming up on the other one, they're gonna like make the guy. Well, if Checo's in the lead, they're gonna make Checo pit for like a new strategy or something to get out of the way.
It's gonna happen lap 1.
Yeah, early on.
Don't know where, but
I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Yeah, just for Fernando to win.
I think that's going to be where the drama is this season because I don't know where else we're getting drama unless it's going to be some kind of Mercedes versus Aston Martin.
I think it's going to be like inter-team drama throughout the season.
Yeah.
So you'll have, I mean, you got drivers there where you could see like that there could be some tension coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with like even with like Aston Martin, like
you think
Aston Martin are probably at some point probably gonna give the better strategies to Fernando.
Yeah, I think so.
Prioritize Fernando, even though that Lance's dad is the owner of the team.
Yeah.
But I think that he's earned that though.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. We've already seen Lance do a couple shady things on the track. Like he did that weird move on Fernando last year where he like moved twice on the straight and then Fernando hit him. The one where like Fernando's car was like up in the air.
Yeah.
But we've seen Lance do some weird stuff. So I'm thinking that can definitely happen.
And we know Mercedes got something brewing right now.
Yeah.
Russell and Lewis, this little partnership, it's not going to work out so well. But I mean, it's just kind of how it is. You're racing with Lewis Hamilton. He has been priority, and if you are the one who takes it from him, it's probably not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be easy.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Because I mean, they gotta do something. They let their cars race too much, and then they just end up just finishing where they are.
Right.
You gotta be more about the team during the race than just saying we let our drivers race each other. Like you can't.
Yeah. Well, that was what Mercedes used to have. Like, we have a definite one. There's no thinking about that. And I think that was kind of Red Bull's situation too. And that's why nobody wanted to be paired up with Max. But everybody felt like Checo was the kind of guy who was just going to let everything pass over. He was going to take that number 2 role, but it doesn't seem like he wants to take it laying down.
I mean,
he wants to compete.
If he does, I'm going to be pissed at him because he's got the car and he's been in F1 long enough. Like
he said he likes this car.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
Red Bull car. Yeah, he said this is the one. So
yeah, I'm going to turn into a big Sergio fan. If he keeps putting it to Max.
Team
right
Checo.
Here. Look at him. Unbothered.
Team Checo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Lonnie, you got to pick a side, bro.
What?
You Max or you riding with Checo? You got to pick a side.
I'm not riding with either one of them.
Hope they both fail.
Man, I'm not riding with either one of them. I'm gonna ride with Ferrari all day, every day.
Well, who's your Ferrari driver?
Red Bull stopped us from getting a few championships, so
yeah.
I'm not gonna. There's no way I could root for either one of them in any situation.
Michael stole my championship away. That's it.
But so Lonnie, Ferrari then, they're not exactly competing in a way that's going to make them decide who's the number one driver like we talked about. But who's your guy? Should they be giving all the preferential treatment to Charles or no?
I think Charles is the better driver.
Okay.
I think Charles just makes mistakes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Where Charles may try to do too much at some points, but I think he's a significantly better driver,
faster,
quicker driver than Carlos.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is like they both make mistakes. Like Charles may make more mistakes than Carlos does, but like Carlos will make the bigger mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like Carlos will wreck the car in like qualifying or something like that, or like wreck the car on lap one, things like that. But
well, last year
either way. I think the issue is like they're going so conservative with the car because they want to finish the races.
Right.
Because like we had all those DNFs last year when we had a fast car. I think they were pushing the car as much as they could, and that's why we had the DNFs. And I think that's the reason that you're seeing now that it looks like they're somewhat off the pace because I think they're going too conservative. So, but
well, I mean, that was
still
the biggest
early,
deal.
but we'll see.
Yeah,
reliability was a big issue, and then strategy was an issue last year. I mean, of course, they had some issues with the drivers, but the car and strategy killed y'all last year. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily them wrecking the car or driver error as much.
It was some of that too.
I mean,
a little bit of all of it. Sprinkle a little bit of all of it.
I distinctly remember the race where Carlos was in front and Max was chasing him, and Carlos just like caught an edge and ran off the track at some point. That was a race that Max ended up DNFing, if I remember correctly. So technically it was fine, but I saw Carlos just totally made a huge error in the lead.
Yeah, that was like week 2 or week 3.
It was early.
It was early.
That's what I'm saying. Like Charles will probably make more mistakes, but Carlos will make the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like we just gotta. I mean, but I think they're a good team. They're a good driver pairing. I think we got one of the best driver pairings on the grid. But
I get that car.
It's just the car is just not there yet. I mean, but really nobody's car is competing right now with the front car.
Yeah, and we'll see because this happened last year too, where the first 2 races of the season were street tracks, and now there's going to be a bunch of tracks that are way different than this. So that can mean there's way different people winning. Winning's that's wrong. The same people are winning, but way different, like teams competing and such. So that's what I'm looking to see at some tracks that aren't, closed in real tight, like we said earlier, with all the long straights and such.
Yeah. Was there any highlights of the day for y'all?
My highlight was early on when Stroll went around the outside and overtook Sainz. This was lap 2 or 3. It was super early, but I was really impressed, and everyone that was watching was really impressed. So I like that one a lot.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot.
I thought the battle with I think seeing Magnussen get up there and get into the points was good the way he did it because he had to go by Hulkenberg and Yuki late to get that last point.
And he was patient. He was patient. He said that it was 3 or 4 laps that he was trying to set that up, and Yuki was doing a very good job of covering. Yeah. But he said he gave him one opening. He was like he just kept blocking him off, and he finally got that last opening and was able to get out of there. But Yeah, it just seems like this race towards the end will lull you to sleep. It was a few little fights at the end of the with Hulkenberg, and we had Sargent doing some fighting at the end, but wasn't a ton of close racing by the end of this race.
Yeah. You guys, who's y'all's pick for driver of the day? I think we kind of touched on it. I don't think we're getting Max as a vote from anybody, but who you like that did the best today, I guess, if you will.
Hmm.
I'm gonna probably say Magnussen.
Nice.
Uh, Everybody else just seemed like it was pretty par for the course that was above him. I don't see anybody else that I was thinking that was going to make any that made any real leaps, because Max's deal, him saying that he was hard getting through the field, that wasn't true.
No.
That wasn't true at all. So
Now, once that DRS kicked in, it was
good. Over. Yeah. He got stuck behind a little DRS train for maybe a half a lap. It seemed like it didn't seem long at all.
Yeah, he had a space shuttle, and the other guys with DRS had an F1 car. That's all it was.
Yeah, but I would probably say Magnussen.
Lonnie?
I rarely like to give driver of the day to like the guy who won the race, but I think it has to be Checo. Because I mean, after that, the only blunder he really had the whole race was at the very start when he let Alonso pass him. Alonso passed him going into turn one, but then after that, he got on it and he got past Alonso and he kind of checked out, managed the race and all that. He was a full pit stop ahead of Max when the safety car came out. And then when that safety car came out, Max starts only 2 cars behind him. I think everybody was thinking, oh yeah, Max is going to get up there and he's going to pass him. Max ended up coming into second place. I think maybe like 5 seconds off of the lead, and Sergio was able to maintain that lead for like the latter 20 or so laps of the race when everybody.
That was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure.
Agreed.
I mean, that's the double world champion coming behind you in
a car that's well than capable.
Yeah, so
more than capable.
Him being able to not blunder and under that, not make any mistakes, and hold on to that lead, I think that gave him driver of the day for me.
Yeah, I think that's my pick too. And like you said, what he did at the beginning of the race was kind of unimpressive and whatever. He's in a Red Bull, so he's able to, overtake Fernando once DRS is open. But the restart from the safety car and then keeping Max at 5 seconds. It wasn't like Max was creeping, and he held on. He kept Max way back there. I'm with saying Checo, as we say.
I definitely understand it. I can see it. And, it was no help from his team. Not like they were giving him any play-by-play of what's happening behind him. They're just telling him to keep racing, and that he decided that he picked the pace. It wasn't like they were really giving him any help with keeping Max behind him. So I can see that.
Yeah, what they decided to show us, he didn't seem like he was getting a lot of help. So congrats to him. He's officially, I did look at the points, the championship points. He's 1 point behind Max right now for the championship. I know, 2 races in, but if he can keep him within shouting distance, we could have some fun this year. The two of them going for it.
Yeah. So Red Bull allowed them to do that.
Yeah.
So you got to have a dud of the race then. Who was your dud of the race?
Maybe the garbage truck driver of the day. Let's see. That might stick, at least for me. Garbage truck driver of the day.
I'm not even sure, man, because I look at the bottom of the list with Valtteri, him saying that he had issues with the car, Lando Norris having early issues with the car and then never rebounding. I might just give it to McLaren as a team.
Okay.
It's those two guys one's driving, one's grabbing the trash off the back.
God,
they're not performing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the car, but they're driving the car. Look at Ricardo. Ricardo is now sitting there laughing this off because McLaren has these awful cars and he's Team Red Bull's, backup driver living the life.
Yeah, I love those
It would have
memes.
been a lap down if he would have.
Yeah. You've seen those memes of like Ricardo getting paid 18 million to not race in a trash heap of a car. Like, he's living a good life right now.
Yeah, man, he's doing all right.
Because nobody has to see how slow he is now.
Exactly. Great point.
He just has the big personality.
He's just doing donuts in the old Red Bull car in Las Vegas while they're out there racing somewhere.
Yeah.
So I looked higher on the list because you're right. There's not a lot going on. And I'm going to give it to Sainz. We already talked about Carlos a little bit, and we agree that he's not the faster Ferrari anyways, but I didn't see anything good from him today. The team itself helped him with the overcut. He didn't do that. Mm-hmm. I think it was Stroll's hard tires that were kind of shitty that helped him get ahead of Stroll with the overcut. I didn't see anything I liked out of Carlos today, so I'm giving it to him.
It's pretty
mediocre. He was kind of pedestrian today.
Yeah.
He didn't really do much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't challenge the Mercedes. He didn't really do anything, and he was up there because he didn't have any penalties or anything.
Yeah,
just he was where he started. He was like where he started, and that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I guess because Carlos did come from what 12th.
Charles, Charles
12.
He started.
Charles came from 12th.
So he actually had a good race. Yeah, he had a pretty good race.
It was that start because he had the soft tires on. That start he had, jumping ahead a couple guys real quick. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Joe says, my garbage truck driver of the day. I'm gonna give it to the stewards for throwing out that safety car. Mm-hmm. That full safety car in there.
Yeah.
It was a virtual safety car at best. And throwing that out,
Red Bull gets it every time.
Throwing that out there at the time they did only benefited like a handful of drivers, and 2 of them were Red Bulls. So
it really just helped Max because Perez was riding off into the sunset.
Yeah, it helped everyone who hadn't pitted, but you're right. It definitely, of the people who hadn't pitted yet, which included Max, it helped Max the most because it helped him
cars back up,
have a chance of winning the race.
Fresh tires.
But at least it helped Sergio be able to get in there and get tires when everybody else did, instead of him pitting and then everybody else to him having what happened to Ferrari happen to him.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how the safety car usually benefits Red Bull like that. I don't know, it's peculiar.
I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear what happened of why the stewards all of a sudden. I mean, I guess they said the GPS told them, but you can't tell me they don't have an eye in the sky to see anything. There's no way they're just going.
There's cameras everywhere around there,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
got a million views.
How is that? That can't be the only thing you're basing it off of to think if you're going to throw a safety car out.
Yeah, and that's the moment that they decide to do something by the letter of the law, when they always are making things up on the fly. But it's on the GPS. Got to be a safety car.
Yeah, it's madness. I'd like to hear Gunther's take on it.
Hey, he got a point. He's got to be happy. He's fine.
Yeah. Gunther not going to care. He got points on Sunday.
That's right.
Yeah.
He loves K-Mag. That's got to be his favorite driver in F1.
That's his guy. He loves him.
For sure.
He's going to be there as long as Gunther's there. But yeah.
All right, what do you think? Anything else we got for this race?
Oh, I think that's about it. I think we unpacked it enough. So now we just got we got a week off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to, what is it? Australia. Gosh, Australian Grand Prix with no Australian driver anymore.
Wow. Well, no, isn't Piastri Australian? Or did I make that up?
Is he?
Maybe I made that up. Hold, please.
I don't know.
Australian motorsports racing driver.
Yep, he is. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
All right,
so holding up
good. He can finish 18th or DNF at his home race.
Look at that. Yeah. So
that's
well, at least the Australian fans will have that then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Red Bull's gonna tear that track to pieces.
If I remember correctly, there's a couple big straights there too, right? It's pretty.
Yeah, it's the Red Bull Grand
track.
Prix, man. They're gonna tear that apart. I think it's 2 long straights.
No, that's
right?
Austria.
Oh, it's Austria.
Oh, okay.
Australia is.
Sound like Dumb and Dumber out here.
Yeah, we're alternative facts over here.
In Dumb and Dumber when he's like, when she says she's from Austria, and he goes, "I'll put another shrimp on the bobby." She said Australia.
Just offend everyone. Just offend both parties.
Yeah. It's from a movie, everyone. If anyone has a problem with what I just said there, it's from a movie.
Let's see.
That's funny.
Grand Prix.
But yeah, they I like the Australian track. So it's kind of like a street. It's kind of like a street course, but it's not. So it's a pretty quick track too. So we'll see. Not as many long straights, but a little bit.
Like
a lot of fast corners. A lot of fast corners. So again, the Red Bull should be good there again. But
surprise.
It should be better than. It should be better than this.
Oh, those 2 DRS zones are going to be intense. It
should be better than this, I think. But the Red Bull is going to be good because there's a lot of fast corners there. But I think it should be closer. I don't think there'll be a second faster than everybody at Australia.
Okay.
Australia, that's what's a 1 a.m. race?
Oh yeah.
Set your DVRs.
Not kind to the East Coast American fans.
Yeah, I think we'll have to sync up the DVR and watch it in the morning or something. I don't think I'm staying up for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I got it in me because you think about that. It starts at 1. You're looking at 2:45, 3 in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nah.
Catch that at about 7:30, 8 a.m., something like that.
Yeah, especially if I'm supposed to be taking notes. I ain't taking notes at 1 a.m.
No, I mean, if I'm going to stay up that late, I may have a couple whiskeys in me by that point. So you don't want me taking notes then, too.
For sure.
No notes. No notes.
And that you said that's in 2 weeks.
So we got no notes. Just going off the cuff.
Yes, is it 2 weeks or this? Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, and we will see y'all for that race review. If anything cool happens in between now and then, maybe we'll do a pod, but
maybe George Russell might get back on the podium by then.
We'll pop back in if they take Alonso's podium again. Maybe we'll pop back in and discuss and unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, we'll catch y'all on the next one.
All right,
y'all.
Peace.